You're listening to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, the go-to podcast for high performers. I'm Andrew Moses. Each week, you'll hear my thought-provoking conversations with Olympians, pro athletes, CEOs, elite coaches, best-selling authors, and other high performers to uncover their secrets to success. Get ready to be inspired each week when we talk about leadership, teamwork, work ethic, and more. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, everybody, let's get into it and pull that tarp. My guest today is the Chief Information Officer for Generac Power Systems, Tim Dickson. Welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, Tim.
Thank you, Andrew. This is just super exciting for me. It's both an honor to be here with you, a friend, a colleague, a fellow alum of Penn State University, and just completely humbled to be able to tell this awesome story about Generac and the city of Milwaukee.
There is so much to get into in regards to Generac, the city of Milwaukee, a homecoming for you of sorts the last couple of years, and you made it just in time for your Milwaukee Bucks to win the NBA championship. We're gonna get into all of that, but I want to start with just that, the homecoming for you. You're raised, spent your childhood in Wisconsin, left Wisconsin professionally, worked for a ton of great companies, and then something compelled you to come back to Wisconsin, to come to Generac. Talk about that decision and that moment a bit.
Yeah, such a great story. There's so many things to unpack and unwind there. But I don't believe I would have been able to give as much as I'm giving to Generac and to the city of Milwaukee if I actually hadn't left 30 years ago when I was in high school. Went to college out of state at Penn State, learned some interesting things, met some wonderful people, worked at the 5 or 6 companies that I have over the last 30 years, and learn what I've done. Go back to school at the University of Texas for my MBA. All of those experiences and all of those different perspectives has allowed me to come back and really take on the challenges that I have right now and do some of the things that I'm doing here in the city and for the company. And it's just getting the best of me. It's a dream come true, and I'm living the dream every day. And I got to tell this funny story. So last year in the time of COVID, I'm interviewing, I'm flying to Milwaukee, June, July-ish timeframe. I got my face mask and my hand sanitizer, and I get off the plane at Milwaukee's General Mitchell Airport, and I see these 2 signs sitting right next to each other. You can picture this. It was just a message from God. And on one side, there was a picture of Generac. Generac's business is power. Company is absolutely booming. We're driven from power outages, and there was a lot of that going on last year around the country, wildfires, hurricanes, etc. I was being brought on to drive the digital transformation of the company. I'm a hometown guy coming back to the state of Wisconsin. And on the left-hand side of this picture was a banner of Milwaukee. And it had the tagline of the Midwest's coolest, but yet most underrated city. And I just thought from this message from God, boy, if I could come back to the state of Wisconsin, lead Generac in their digital transformation, this huge growth trajectory that we're on, and do it at the same time, giving back to the community here in Milwaukee, paying it forward, the state that's been so good to me as I've grown up through the years, and put Milwaukee on the map at the same time as a tech town, that would just be an awesome story and just too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Such an opportunity, and it's amazing how things sometimes work out the way they do. What drew you to Generac? I mean, obviously, many know Generac, a global energy technology leader, some fantastic products. What drew you initially to Generac, besides the opportunity to come home a bit?
Yeah, I call myself a digital game changer. There was definitely a game-changing event needed here at Generac and what they were going through. I mean, Generac's a 62-year-old backup generator engine company, born and raised in the state of Wisconsin. We got 6 plants here. Company is just doing awesome. But with everything that was going on in the world, with the electrification, with the grid, with the decentralization of the utility model, Generac entered into the clean energy and renewable space about 2 years ago. And that was just awesome for me to see from the board's perspective, from my boss, the CEO's perspective, such a shift in the direction and strategy of the company to take on and enter into this world that they weren't necessarily a part of before, and really get into the electrification, batteries, renewable energy, clean, solar, and really sort of turn that industry on a dime. So joining a company at a time where they recognized they needed to change, they needed a leader to drive that change. And just given what I know I'm passionate about and what I've done for the past 30 years, it's just a perfect fit. And for anyone, looking for a new opportunity, I just have to say it has to be a great fit. And as you go through the interview cycle and you meet folks and you do your research, at the end of that cycle whether it's a great fit or not. And it just got to the point where they knew me, they knew everything I was about. I knew exactly what I was walking into and the tools that I could bring to the situation to transform the company. And it just ended up working out. Like I said, dream come true and a great fit.
So many people, when they think about the interview process, Tim, they think about it's the company asking the individual questions. But what I always tell people, it's just as important for the individual, the candidate, to ask the company questions. To your point there, to understand if it's a fit. What are some things people should be looking for in a company, or maybe that you were looking for in a company that tells you this is going to be a good fit, that I'm going to have the ability to thrive here?
So it's all about culture. It really is. I mean, strategy, all of those things are important. Talent, obviously, is a big part of my profile, but it all comes down to culture. And really what I was trying to determine through the interview process is Generac, a 62-year-old engine generator company, are they ready for and accepting from a culture standpoint of what I bring to the table, what I'm good at, what I like to do, what I'm passionate about? And is there an avenue, is there an opening then to bring all of me and all of that to this company and help drive this change that we were going through? And I just found that as steep in history as they are, with technology and innovation, the time was right. The leadership was acknowledging sort of that the time is right and the change in the opening was there. And I just kind of walked right in the door. It's been an awesome experience. But culture is a culture accepting of what you can bring to the table in yourself. And the other thing I would say is, I don't know if you've ever taken personality tests, but I've taken the DISC assessment a number of times and give it to my team. I am a solid I. I am enthusiastic, energetic, lively, get to know everyone personally, professionally. I'm a very sort of loud, outgoing, and interactive person. I wanted to see if that profile of a personality, could thrive in this environment. And like I said, just been a great fit. Happy I made the decision I did.
Why do you think it is, Tim, that so many organizations, especially organizations that have been around a while, like Generac, can be resistant to change?
Well, there's a something I call, get comfortable at being uncomfortable and take risk. And so I think, certainly with a number of companies I've worked for in the past, I've seen that the profile has been risk aversion. And so if there's not a culture of opening and taking risk, failing fast, the whole story with agile and all that kind of stuff. If there's not an opening to take risk and allow people to put themselves out there, use their own ideas, their outside-in perspectives, their own creativity, to solve that problem, create that product, create that new innovative thought or idea, then that's where I see companies get stale. And obviously, if there wasn't a culture and opening of taking risk and risk aversion, then that's not going to work from my perspective. And Generac did show that. I mean, obviously, being in a 62-year-old company entering into a brand new space where they didn't have a history and perspective before, that shows risk in itself right there. So that was a great data point for me.
So let's go back to your first 30, 60, 90 days. What were some of the early priorities for you from a people perspective, from a leadership perspective? Obviously, there was a lot of strategy to work on and things like that. What were you doing from a people perspective?
Well, I'll give you an everybody pulls the tarp scenario here. Day 2 on the job. Actually, it was last August. And as I mentioned, Generac's business is driven from power outages, from hurricanes and things of that nature. And day 2 on the job last August, I don't know if you recall, but Hurricane Isis was in the mix and started off in South Carolina, just ran right up the East Coast and was probably one of the most damaging hurricanes, in the history of hurricanes. And this is where Generac thrives, and we are at our best, our moment of shine when things of this happen. So day 2 on the job, day 1 was orientation, got to know the history of the company and what I was walking into. Day 2 on the job, I walk into my boss's staff meeting, the CEO. The Generac.com website was down for about an hour, and I'm the new CIO in charge of technology. And as a result of the website being down, in this time of huge demand and surge with the hurricane, folks called into the call center and the phone lines went down. And so day 2 on the job, I'm in charge of technology for Generac Power Systems. I got these big ideas of transforming this company digitally, and the website and the phones are down. And so I could have taken a lot of different paths. I could have blamed, other people. I'm the new guy. But I got involved. I pulled the tarp. I got to know my boss pretty close that day, and I got to know my team. But by diving in, putting myself in the center of the fire, helping, being involved, and help solve the problem, I got to know my team. I got to know my boss. I got to know the company and what it's about, sort of in a split second. And people will challenge me on this, but I look back at that day, and I committed to my boss later on that afternoon that would never happen again on my watch. Who I stood for as a leader, what I was committing to as a leader being at this company, he saw that day, and the company saw that day that wasn't going to happen again. Thankfully, over the course of the last year, that hasn't been the case. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I was thrown into the fire. I helped pull the tarp, and I got to get to know everybody as a result.
What a powerful story. Now, I love those tarp pulling moments for sure. Do you think that it was this accelerator in building trust that people were watching and saying, okay, Tim's leading by example? He could have blamed his predecessor, or he could have blamed the folks that were here prior, but he jumped in and he did what needed to be done. Do you think it helped accelerate trust building?
Absolutely. Trust and relationship obviously is a big deal. And trust and relationship, quite frankly, in the Midwest culture is a big deal as well. I mean, obviously I was coming in from the outside, but I'm from the state of Wisconsin. So I had to show people that I was of the type of person that can relate to people, that can get down, get my hands dirty, get involved. I wasn't bossing anyone around. I wasn't telling anybody how to do their job, but just being involved, being approachable, showing that you're there when people have ideas, just more opt for them to aspire to do more and get to know me a little bit more personally and professionally, and build that line of communication that obviously has been so important to me since I've been here.
That's interesting. So the fact that that you have familiarity with that, the culture, the community, has played a role in your re-assimilation.
Yeah, so it does help out. Quite frankly, that I'm from the state of Wisconsin, and I'm a huge Green Bay Packer, Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Brewers fan. It helps that all three of those teams have done well in the course of this year. It helps that I wear my swag. I'm wearing my Generac swag today, supporting the team and the company. We have Packer theme days. We had a Milwaukee Bucks IT town hall. Let's not kid ourselves. That does help assimilating into the culture, but it's the little things that you do. It's the showcasing of the team and their great accomplishments. It's the showcasing individuals, giving rewards, calling out folks who have done a great job. All those types of things, both socially, and in person, that helps build the trust and relationship with your team. I'm just a huge advocate of that.
There's no question that you walk the walk, and folks reward you for that. I saw on LinkedIn, Tim, that for your birthday, a whole group of folks at Generac, busted out a big cake to celebrate you. And it's so cool to see, how in such a relatively short time, in a period when the country in particular is going through so many challenges and there's so many things that are bringing us apart, you're coming home and bringing people together. It's pretty neat.
It was very humbling. In fact, it's probably one of the most humbling experiences of my life, to know that my team cared enough about me, knew enough about me to sort of celebrate that moment with me. It was quite special. I'm a huge coach and mentor, both inside of work and outside of work. I coach my daughters in basketball. I bring a lot of the same philosophies to work as I do, outside. You have to inspire a team with a strategy. In basketball, it's an offense, and at work, obviously, it's whatever work you bring to play. You have to involve them in the process. They have to have input in running the plays and choosing the technology and executing the programs. And every once in a while, you have to run a trick play. You have to put a little spice into it. You got to make it a little bit of fun, because at the end of the day, I'm about doing great things together and having a lot of fun. If I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't be here, and I'm having a ton of fun.
It's so interesting you went to kind of that connection with the coaching. I talked to so many elite coaches, professional coaches, and a lot of college coaches. And lately, I've been having a lot of conversations with college basketball coaches in particular. And one of the things that is so interesting, in particular with these college coaches, is how much more there is than just the X's and O's. Almost every single time you see this passion when you talk to, in particular, a college coach, or any coach for that matter, and they say the player, the person over the player. It's so important as a coach to not just understand what the person can do for you on the field, on the court, in the rink, whatever it is, and understand the person that's coming to the team. Because ultimately, a team is just a compilation of a bunch of individuals. It sounds like your team has had a great opportunity to get to know you, and you've made it a priority to get to know your team. Talk about that for a little bit.
So I read a lot of books, and there's this book I just absolutely love. It's called The Ideal Team Player. It just talks about, at the end of the day, there's a role that you play as an individual in working for an organization, as a company. You not only have to take it on yourself to improve your own profile, to be good at what you do. The company is asking you to be good at what you do, and take those skill sets and help improve the company's posture. But you also have to be a team player. And it's just an awesome experience if you can be a great team player, but also improve yourself at the same time and bring more of you to that mission, to that purpose. That's just a great fit. And that's just what I try to do with my team. I try to, present a vision of where we're going. I try to make it fun for people to work together and collaborate. But at the end of the day, I hope there's an opening through being approachable and being involved, that they will come to me or my leadership team and present ideas of how they can improve themselves and upskill and improve their talent profile to do more for the organization and more for the company. And that is just an ultimate team player story that I just love.
I wrote that down. I'm going to have to check that book out. But so for everybody who's listening or watching, it's called The Ideal Team Player, Tim?
The Ultimate Team Player.
The Ultimate Team Player. I am going to check that out. You are the ultimate team player, Tim. And not just at Generac. You are pulling the tarp for the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the entire metro area, in helping to grow Milwaukee into one of the leading tech hubs around the country. There's a lot of work you're doing. I know one of the things that you're super excited about is the upcoming Summerfest and Summerfest Tech on September 8th. You're leading a panel there. And the panel, as I understand it, is specifically focused on exploring some of the challenges and successes that other cities around the country have had in turning their cities into and metro areas into leading tech hubs. Talk about why you're excited about that conversation. I think it's really cool for a lot of reasons.
Wow, so much to unpack there. So one, just extremely grateful, once again, timing, whether it's luck, coincidence, or other, that this event is going on in Milwaukee at a time that Generac is doing so well. We're trying to raise the profile of the company, not only here in the state of Wisconsin, but nationwide. We're now a long-term sponsor of Summerfest and the Milwaukee World Festival, the world's largest music festival, by the way, which is just awesome. We are sponsoring that at a time that we are not only trying to raise our profile nationwide, but as a part of the long-term sponsorship, I also get to co-host, as a new CIO, as a new executive in this town, Summerfest Tech. And it's a 4-year-old event. I used to live in Austin, Texas, and I got a chance to go to South by Southwest and South by Southwest Interactive. I got to speak at South by Southwest Interactive a couple times. And I am on a mission to help change this event and this profile of the city into something like a South by Southwest in Austin. The potential is there. I have this word I use, potential. The profile is there. The door is wide open with a number of different events going on. Recently, the Bucks winning the NBA championship, Giannis and all the good things that he does for the city of Milwaukee. If we can't take advantage of this opening, this visibility of Milwaukee being on a global stage right now, then that would just be a shame. That's not what I'm about. I'm about bringing in my network, people that I know that have helped me and helped them do these things in other towns before: Charlotte, Silicon Valley, Raleigh, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Denver, and give Milwaukee a playbook on how to raise the profile, become a popular tech destination, and want people to come here. And hopefully maybe Generac gets something out of it at the end of the day in terms of becoming more of a cool and destination company. And these are heavy topics, Andrew. I mean, if you look at that agenda, these are heavy topics. Help make Milwaukee a tech town. Boom. What can we learn from Charlotte? How do we bring more females into the CIO network? How do we provide a more diverse, high-performing IT and technology team? How do we've shown that we've brought people together, through times of COVID, remote working, hiring talent. You don't need to work in Silicon Valley to work for a cool company. But from a diversity and inclusion perspective, we're leaving out people that are just a block away. And so how do we bring all of these heavy-weighted topics and determine at the end of the day, at the end of this conference, what are we up for as a city, as a network? Do we want to become the next Charlotte or Austin? Or are we really of a St. Louis or a Pittsburgh type who's doing some great things, but maybe it might not be enamored in some of those top tier tech talents. So it's going to be an awesome event. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Love to have you there, Andrew. And we're really going to see how Milwaukee unpacks these topics and what we do and what action we take as a result.
I can't wait to see it and see you in action. And Tim, it's what's particularly fascinating to me about all this is the way that you're essentially, obviously, bringing so much passion and energy to this cause. Strategically, you're thinking tactically, and you're going outside the boundaries of your immediate community to get ideas and perspectives and then try and adapt them for Milwaukee. How do you do that? How do you take ideas that may have worked somewhere else, things that may have not worked somewhere else, and then filter it into something that can work for Milwaukee?
So this has been done before. This has absolutely been done before. Other cities have gone through it. Angela Yoakum, who is the Chief Transformation Officer at Novant Health, she's going to talk about how when she was in Charlotte and worked for Bank of America, Charlotte was known as a banking town. She left. I worked with her at Dell. She came back, and all of a sudden, Charlotte's into fintech. They're into healthcare. They're an innovative tech hub. They're partnering with universities and startups. They have all these wonderful things going on. How did that happen? What specifically caused that drift to change? I have this term I use. Can you change the drift? How can you take that trajectory on a different path? What happened in that case that we might be able to learn something from and sort of adapt from our own perspective here in Milwaukee? Like I said, it's going to be a playbook. There's this commercial. I don't remember who exactly it was, but I love it. There's this person who goes, here is a book of all the world's most, all the world's answers to the world's most difficult questions. And what do you want as somebody, kind of young and new and potential and growing up? You want to hear how other people have done it before, their best practices, their lessons learned, their recommendations, their advice. And that's exactly what this is going to be. And it's great, quite frankly, for the city of Milwaukee to be open to those types of recommendations and advice. Some cities would say, hey, we're going to do this our own and we know it best and, thanks, but no thanks. But Milwaukee has opened up with events like these and are willing to listen to how other folks have done it and then willing to take those recommendations and put them into play. And I think that speaks volumes for the city and the network that we're trying to build.
It does. And I think for anybody listening, for anybody watching, whether you're leading a company, a community organization, a team, or you're an individual who's trying to grow and develop personally and professionally, there's a great lesson there in that we all should be open to, soliciting feedback, to taking kind of the positives and negatives from others, adapting them to our own situation, be humble enough to seek input, not think that we know everything. I think, there's people out there who want to pull the tarp for us. We have to also be willing to let them pull the tarp for us, right? It's a two-way street. I think there's a lot of powerful lessons in that, Tim, both obviously for the city of Milwaukee and what you're doing, but for anybody.
There are some hard topics. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. There are some hard topics. Talent is just one I'm extremely passionate about. And being here a year now and starting in a time of COVID, I had no network when I came here. I had no vendor partner relationship. I had no talent pipeline in a time of COVID. I had to go out and build all of that from the get-go. So what are those things that we have to do as a network in this town to improve the talent profile, to keep people who are students who are going to wonderful universities here in the state of Wisconsin? University of Wisconsin-Madison's a top-tier school. Marquette University, Milwaukee School of Engineering. These are great schools, and kids are going to school, getting educated in all these tech areas, and they're leaving. And they're going to California, then we're going to work for Facebook and Google. How can we keep that talent here? How can we leverage that talent, have everyone pull the tarp here in the state of Wisconsin and do great things for the companies and the community here in the state of Wisconsin? That is what we're up for. And I got to tell you, like I said, you don't have to work in Silicon Valley to have a cool tech job. And with remote technology these days, with everything that I do in the technology space to make global collaboration easier, you can work anywhere. We want to leverage this asset that we have with these universities, with these great curriculums that now we're involved in, and keep people here and attract talent from outside the state of Wisconsin.
What do you say to people who are like detractors, people who don't think it's possible? How do you bring them along?
Yeah, so there's a lot of that goes on in the world. And I have this thing called, I have the 3 C's, and one of the C's is courage. You have to have courage. You have to have fearlessness. You have to know how to deal with adversity. You're going to take shots at whatever you do, but if you're passionate about that thing you are doing, you will find a way to detract the doubters and to get that thing across the finish line. This is those moments. There are going to be people that say Milwaukee could never be in Austin, Texas, or a Charlotte. I think it can. There's definitely going to be challenges, but if we come together as a society and organization, we can absolutely make this happen. But the Bucks use this, have used this term through the playoff run, history in the making. And this is a history in the making moment for the city of Milwaukee. We have the potential, we have the profile, we have the outside in expertise, we have the culture to make this happen. We have this foundation, we have this huge opening with visibility now on the global stage. It is up to us to make this happen. If you're watching this from outside the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin, watch how we do this. We are going to make this happen.
It's incredible, Tim, to hear and see the passion in your voice. And I think when I reflect on our past conversations, when I reflect on our conversation today, it all comes down to passion. It all comes down to service, and it all comes down to doing things and finding paths that inspire you and bringing your whole self to a situation. I tell people all the time that some of the best decisions that I've made, both personally and professionally, are to get involved in our beloved university, Penn State. I got involved in the Alumni Association. I got involved in building a charity event that I worked on for 12 years. I get involved in a lot of networking events. I spend a lot of time mentoring young professionals, having conversations like this, sharing messages, right? Rather than go and have conversations every week one-on-one, I want to share conversations with the world. And you're doing the exact same thing. And it's evident that you have found such inspiration and such passion in some of the causes that make you proud. And it makes you more well-rounded. It broadens your impact, and it makes you a better CIO at Generac. It brings new perspectives, fresh ideas, and passion, energy, and leadership to the role. So kudos to you. This has been so much fun. I've enjoyed catching up. We'll have to catch up again soon. And let's make sure we plug it one more time. So September 8th coming up real soon, Summerfest Tech. There's a lot of stuff going on, but in particular, I'm really fascinated about the conversation you're leading with so many technology executives about how to continue transforming Milwaukee into a tech hub, because there is so much to learn, obviously for the people of Milwaukee, but for people everywhere around the world who want to make a difference in their community, on their team, for themselves, and pull that tarp. So Tim, thanks for pulling the tarp. Keep doing your thing, and we'll have to catch up again soon.
Thank you, Andrew. Super excited about this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you are like me and want a world full of tarp pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Instagram at AndrewMoses123 and sign up for my monthly email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Today is a great day to pull the tarp. I am rooting for you. See you next time.